Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the New Fashion Conservatives podcast, one of the top 100 conservative podcasts in America, according to podcast aggregator FeedSpot. And we're back after a short technological break. I'm Justin Phillips, and with me is the man whose back is killing him for carrying this show for so long, Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest soldier.
And this week, we're catching you up on a bunch of stuff that you may have missed and giving you the insight you need on those stories. So first, again, since we took a little pause for the past week, I think we gotta go back and revisit the last day of State Fair, where we saw fights breaking out. Again, at the very tail end of State Fair, the last hours of what was a good State Fair. Great, it's a great thing to go to. I go with my family every year.
Good for you.
But the last day, those last few hours, were met with brawls, near riots between the Midway and the Milwaukee Mile area, where all those food places are. We saw the videos of the attacks. There was allegedly, I don't know if it's actually been confirmed that there was a police officer that was had faced a significant injury, but police had to be there. They had to break up those fights. And what came out of it was kind of a ridiculous statement from David Crowley on passing the buck and saying who he thought should be blamed for this. And again, most ridiculous way possible. But Shadow Gov, thoughts on those fights, those brawls, the last hours of the State Fair?
Yeah, well, certainly not a way that State Fair wants to probably end their night. But, call me desensitized, but when I see these videos, I'm like, okay, another fight, another teen takeover, another shooting on Water Street. It's just like, it just seems like more business as usual, But I tried to, and one thing that was maybe a little bit surprised at was that how national this got. We had, saw like people like Steven Crowder talking about this. You saw then all the normal conservative pundits grabbed hold of it, and I think it was on Fox News for a little bit too. I was like, okay, this. Sure, I mean, it's a fight, but like, what, didn't seem anything really novel about it at the time. And then I actually started watching it. We watch so much stuff. I get Ukraine war footage on my Instagram feed. Occasionally it's like, oh, just watched a man die, unfortunately. So I don't know. Call me desensitized, but anyway, I was watching the video from State Fair. I'm like, okay, it is kind of crazy how there's like simultaneously. I mean, kudos to the camera guy. He got like 4 or 5 different fights all happening at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
That all broke out. And I don't know if it stemmed from one incident and then or it was just like one fight started and that means carte blanche for everybody else. But I mean, yeah, it was basically just a ton of fights just happening simultaneously. And I mean, I guess it's just the contrast of you had like State Fair, you had all the, you got the food, you got the vendors, and then you just have, people just absolutely beating the crap out of each other. And so not a great look, and I think we come to expect this kind of stuff from, areas that are maybe a little bit rougher, maybe more crime and stuff, which I guess it kind of ties in with like why people have such an outrage about the stuff on Water Street is because Water Street downtown, typically safe. And then we have shootings, people dying, people getting shot, beat up on Water Street. And they're like, okay, I go down to the bars down there. It's always
It's
fine.
the Pfizer Forum is just right across the river.
Yeah.
Like people go there all the time. The Baird Center, the UW Panther Arena is like just right there.
Yeah. And I think the same thing is with the State Fair, where the State Fair, I mean, it's the State Fair. Tons of people go there. Tons of people take their families there. No one's expecting a brawl. Like, why would you fight at State Fair?
Right.
There's nothing possible. I mean, it's what you get your foot-long corn dog, you get your deep fried Oreo with the bugs on it or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah, there's some weird ones this year. I stayed away from them, but yeah, I would expect maybe this fight over mops in the expo center. I walked through with some people who had been the State Fair for their first time, and I was like, this is every made on TV. This is every infomercial on every corner. And I like, there's 2 guys fighting over Ginzu knives versus Cutco knives. Like,
kind of a Cutco guy myself.
I would expect that type of behavior in that thing. Of course, I'm joking.
Yes.
But no, it stems from the Midway. So I guess maybe one of the questions you have to ask is are the carnival games still worth it? Are those rides still worth it? And lucky for my family, we shut that down immediately
Mhm.
because the price of one of those, you buy a ticket for the ride. Tickets are 50 cents. Even the kiddie rides are like 6 to 8 tickets. So that's what, $2.50, $3 to $4 or $5 for these stupid little rides.
Yeah.
Like, that's a waste of money. It was very clear that we made it clear to our kids, like, we're not going to do that. We'll do the giant slide and something else, but we're not doing those rides. So we avoid that area pretty easily.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, that's where all of this
riffraff.
Yes, that's where they hang. That's where they start. That's where they hang out, and then again, it spills into the rest of it, and it's a frustrating visualization for everyone else.
And one thing that I don't want to close down certain fair rides because this stuff happens. Because then that's just admitting defeat to something as stupid as just high school arguments that devolve into fist fights or whatever. So I mean, if you don't want to go to the fair rides because they're too expensive, because they are sometimes, that's fine. But we shouldn't be shutting them down because people got in fights and they had to ruin it for everyone else. Like that's not fair. I mean, there's plenty of people that'll take their kids to the fair rides and everything, but there's an uncomfortable conversation to be had, and I think this video also makes it kind of painfully obvious, which, like, State Fair, it's in Milwaukee County, so obviously there's going to be a lot of people from the surrounding areas, most notably Milwaukee will be there, but I mean there's tons of people from out of state that will come to Milwaukee.
They bring their cows from all across the state.
Oh yeah.
And I think I read somewhere that's like 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people in this, like, Wisconsin has a very high attendance rate for the state fair for the amount of people that we have. And I'm sure if it's 1 in 4, just people going multiple times, but you're right. You do have people who come from Fond du Lac, the area, or north central Wisconsin, who make a day or a weekend of the fair. Yeah.
And but with this video in particular, it's just, there's an uncomfortable conversation we have about why do we have a video where it's predominantly, people that are Black that are having these fights. And it's like, is there something there? I don't know. I just find it very disconcerting that back, in 2020, this would be anathema. We can't talk about this at all.
Right.
But you see that video and you're like, okay, how can we avoid this? Okay. Do we have to have curfews? I don't want to have curfews.
Right. You have to shut down the Midway at 6 p.m. or something.
I don't want to have to do that. Like, that just seems like capitulation. But it's like, why do we have to let people ruin this for everyone else? Give it State Fair a bad name, which I don't think they will. Like, I mean, people will probably forget about this by next year. But I mean, this is the same thing with Summerfest.
But it's the people are going to make the choice now. It's the choice we make. Now, it's for different reasons, but the choice we make is we're going to go on a Wednesday. We're going to go at 7 or 8 a.m. Say we're there for some auction, walk around the animal buildings until the rest of the fair opens at 10 o'clock, and then we'll do our stuff. We'll get our cheese curds, we'll get our cream puff, all the treats, the Sporkies that we want, and we're done at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock at the latest.
You're out of there.
Right. And that's how there's several reasons why we do that. Not just because I feel uncomfortable there at night. The fact is, you shouldn't go to the state fair and feel uncomfortable. And
that would be horrible.
And the fact is, Pittsville, Wisconsin, I think, is the geographic center of the state, and that's around like Marshfield. So if you took the state fair and planted it in Marshfield, in Pittsville, because it's the geographic center of the state, you would not have these problems. You could have the exact same state fair. You would not have these problems.
Yeah. And of course, we can't talk about that because that is taboo or whatever. But at some point, someone's going to have a conversation to kind of get to the bottom of this, because this is not getting better. This is getting worse. I think Summerfest is a good parallel to it, which honestly, I think Summerfest, and I don't know, I can't remember if there were any issues at Summerfest this year, mainly because I didn't really go to Summerfest, so, but that being said, there was I had listened to Black Talk Radio a little bit, and they were talking about this, where they said, hey, we want more rappers to come for Summerfest, but every time there's a rapper, there's a fight, and then it gets worse.
Yep.
And it's like, how do you combat that? And if Black Talk Radio is having issues in realizing this, or they do realize this, and it's like, how do you address it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it gets any better, and I see it getting worse.
Right.
And more people being like trying to ignore something, and I don't know how you address this adequately, which is why having David Crowley completely pass the buck on all of this is really
let's talk about that.
The headline I think that we should talk about.
Though. Yeah, so I think he's just straight up trying to gaslight the public on who is to blame for the incident at State Fair, because it's in his county. His police officers had to show up to these things because even though State Fair does have its own police force, it's not capable of handling all these things. They need outside help when this, again, near riot level thing comes up. So he then was finally pressed about it, and he answered in such a way that you have to play it because it's so unbelievable. And we got to break this down. So I'm going to play Matt Smith asking him the question. Matt Smith, I got the video from, but he was asked the question.
Let's be very clear. State Fair is actually controlled by the state of Wisconsin, which is controlled by the Republican-controlled legislature. And so, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're providing safe spaces, working directly hand in hand, not just with law enforcement, but our community violence interrupters in general, to make sure that nothing is going out of hand. But at the end of the day, as county executive, I work with all of our local municipalities to make sure that they have the resources that they need.
So a couple of things we got to break down in that clip. First off, he's completely lying about control of the State Fair. And you could see it in the video. You check this out. Again, Matt Smith posted it. He kind of short circuits for a second when he's talking about, the State Fair is actually controlled by the Wisconsin state, or the state of Wisconsin, or the state legislature, which is controlled by Republicans. Because he had to froze for a second because he realized if he started going down this path, he was going to sound like he was blaming Tony Evers. Because if you want to talk about someone who might actually have some blame in this, it is Tony Evers. It is the Democrats. So he says that the State Fair is controlled by the Republican legislature. It's not. So what he's trying to obfuscate is saying that joint finance, which provides funding for the State Fair grounds, is somehow to blame for this, even though the State Fair grounds and all that money then goes to the State Fair board. State Fair board has 13 members. You get 2 from, like 1 Senate Republican, 1 Senate Democrat, 1 Assembly Republican, 1 Assembly Democrat. So there's 4. There's 2 on the Democrat side right there. The rest of the 9 members, 7 of them are appointed by Tony Evers, and 2 of them are secretaries, who, again, was appointed by Tony Evers.
Yeah.
So 11 of the 13 members of the Wisconsin State Fair Board are Democrats. So don't start this by saying that like the Republicans are to blame because joint finance, because they have a majority in the Assembly. Like that is stuff that is a messaging strategy that comes straight out of Dan Schaefer and Reddit.
Yeah,
for its logic.
It didn't like it came from there. It did come from there. Like, it's funny. It's funny. Is David Crowley? Obviously, he has a David Crowley, like his official social media profile, but he's got a burner. I mean, it's not just Dirk McGurk, of course. I think he's got a new one because he's definitely following up on what some of the liberal, Reddit level of talking points are being said, because just regurgitating them verbatim and just being like, well, so basically, so the state controls this and Republicans control the state, therefore it's their fault. First of all, try explaining this to the normal voter. The State Fair board makeup. Yep. Or not the state for, but the makeup of the Wisconsin state government and how Republicans no one's going to believe you. No one's going to care. All people see is that a bunch of dysfunction is happening at State Fair. Yep. And guess what? It's in your backyard.
Exactly.
I mean, are you helpless? Do you not have the sheriff on speed dial? Come on. Let's not be pedantic here and try to dance around this. The normal people, I think, see through this when they see this super in the weeds thing. Which, don't get me wrong, I love in the weeds stuff, but
this is not about jurisdiction. This isn't about who runs State Fair. This is about people can't go to State Fair after sunset, after dusk, without mobs of teenagers starting brawls at the fried veggies and cheese curd stands.
Yeah, and so I'm just really confused by David Crowley's stance on this. And of course, I shouldn't be confused at all. It's because he doesn't have an answer. So this is the best thing he can do. Which, if this is the best that they can do, now, of course, this is not going to be the issue that's going to be the defining issue come November. However, it still pisses me off just because we all see stuff. We don't like it. We should be all on board on addressing why these things are continuing to get worse at places where they weren't worse before. So I am all for ideas on how we solve that. And unfortunately, David Crowley thinking that he can just walk away from this and blame Republicans, like, come on. You're not going to blame Republicans, the pro-law enforcement, the pro-law and order party on stuff like this.
Yeah, and then he goes on to talk about his like county violence prevention people, like, again,
trying to slip in a nice campaign talking point.
Right. Of that is essentially like defund the police and send social workers to these events, sort of thing. But Deborah Price at the Heartland Post, where you can check out our writing as well, but she had a great piece on David Crowley passing the buck on the state fair chaos. And one of the reasons why I think he's doing this, again, because he thinks that the Milwaukee Reddit and Dan Schaefer should be driving his talking points, is the fact that I want to call him Kamala Harris at this point, because it's become clear to me that his message and campaign skills are as untested as Francesca Hong, except he didn't say the crazy shit like out loud.
Yeah.
It's just become evident in this response. Crowley, fun fact, has never faced a Republican opponent in any race. And I think that is something that has to do with this. You see, same thing was true of Kamala Harris. At no point did she actually face a Republican of serious note on her way to the vice presidency. David Crowley, trying to become governor of the state of Wisconsin, has never had to message to independent, moderate, or conservative-leaning voters that he needs to bring along to win. This has all been just how far left can you be? So I want to cover this because, again, I don't think anyone else has talked about this before, but again, I think it speaks to why his campaign strategy is so bad, because, again, Francesca Hong could say the craziest shit imaginable in the 76th Assembly District in Madison, because we talked about, she puts up Assad numbers.
The People's Republic.
Right. The Republican in those races finishes at least third, if not fourth, to like the Green Party candidate and the actual communist. So Crowley's district, and the Assembly District 17, where he served before being county executive, is kind of no different. So he, in 2016, won a Democrat primary against Kim Burns and Marcus Hart. Both were Democrats. Went unopposed in the general election. 2018, unopposed in both the primary and the general election. Runs for county executive in 2020. He advances in this multi-candidate primary where it's, there's 4 candidates in that race. Chris Larson, who's a Democrat state senator, Theo Lipscomb, who is a county board member, another one, it's a Democrat, and Permina Nath, who
perennial candidate
is the closest thing you could say to having actually run against a conservative, but I think she finished like 4th in that one, and conservative is kind of a stretch, and I don't want to get in the weeds on that one, but just know that if someone says, oh, but actually no, because at the end it was a 2-person race between him and Chris Larson, and David Crowley won by half a percentage point in that one. In 2014, he ran someone who's very near and dear to me, defeated 2024, yes. So he easily defeated, again, someone who just started following me on X, and someone who I've been a fan of and we've talked about on the show plenty of times, is Aisha Griffin, who, I don't know if she ran on the not the white man's bitch ticket in 2024. She probably did, but like that was his level of opponent 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was this, again, this kind of kooky, perennial, independent, left-wing activist. So Crowley's first race against an actual Republican will be this November.
And one thing I'd like to contrast that with Tiffany, and everyone will be like, well, Tom, he's in the 7th congressional district and that's 65%, Republican. He's never had to face a good Democrat. And yeah, you're right. You're right on that. However, what's one thing that sets Tiffany apart from Crowley as far as campaign experience? I mean, obviously he's older and so he's been through more campaigns, but not only that, he's a Republican. And so naturally, by default, the libs will love to hear this one, he's had to go through the ringer more than he
oh my gosh.
Like, to say that Crowley has been more or less insulated until now from media criticism would be an understatement.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was in the assembly, I'm sure there was hardly any negative press on anything he ever did. He was in a vote sink of an assembly district that just had probably 80% Democrats. I mean, obviously, when he went into for the 2020 primary, I mean, that was campaign. He might have been hit from the left and would have been seen as quote unquote more conservative, in quotes. But it wasn't quite literally, a general election in November.
But let's not forget, we talked about this with Tom early on. I asked him about it, in fact, and that again, we had that interview with him, and I think it was early November. So, but he has lost races to Democrats before. In 2004 and 2008, he ran for state senate and lost. He lost to Roger Bresky and Jim Holprin. So you want to talk about someone who had to lose, who lost, and then actually kind of lost worse in 2008. Now, those were tough years for Republicans. And back then, the Northwoods was probably still that blue dog sort of Democrat, that moderate. And of course, the things kind of get redrawn, but he won an assembly seat in 2010.
Yeah,
he had, and then in 12, he picks up the Senate seat. He beats Susan Summer in 2012. But you're talking about, again, that was a Republican pickup in that cycle. So he not only has been through the ringer, has had to message and lose races, and then he ran hard against someone who the Dems want to hold that seat.
Yeah.
So don't tell me like he's not like. He is more seasoned as a candidate than David Crowley could ever imagine to be.
Yeah.
Because again, you lose to a Democrat in Milwaukee, in the city of Milwaukee. You don't lose to a Republican in the city of Milwaukee.
Well, and of course, and one other thing about Tom, he's been in Congress. Like every congressperson, like regardless of party, I guess it depends a little bit on party, but like Republicans for sure get harassed on the Hill all the time. Basically every Republican, and I don't say every, but there sure seems like every Republican has a tracker.
Yeah.
The Democrats have pay, some intern, a couple bucks an hour to, hey, just follow him when he's walking from his car to the Hill.
Right, because it's DC.
Yeah.
DC itself is actually like an 85-15 Dem community. So like
they got plenty.
You're
of
already outnumbered in DC.
But they're always peppering them with questions.
Right.
They're always trying to see what they're up to and try to poke and prod and kind of piss them off. So to say that Tom hasn't had to be quick on his feet or engage in some kind of rhetorical back and forth with Democrats either on the Hill or with reporters would be an understatement. So I think everyone's saying with making that same argument against Tom, saying, oh, he's never faced a true Democrat. Like, first of all, they don't know ball. And second of all, he's got plenty of congressional experience. Right. And this is there's the kind of I don't want to say it's an old adage, but it's basically like, Dem comm staffers don't have to go through the ringer.
No, the easiest job in Madison is Britt Cuddeback's or Diane Hesselbein's comms director. Like all you have to do is go to Jesse Apoyan or Molly Beck and be like, please print this for me. And they do, because they are lazy and bad at their jobs.
Yeah.
But then you go to if a Republican was to do that, they'd be like, no, we're going to fact check everything. Yeah.
So of course, David Crowley's he's got a lot of work to do. I mean, and listen, I'm not here to blow smoke up people's rears here as well, but David is more eloquent than Francesca, and he was clearly a better wordsmith.
Not by a whole lot, though.
But yes, and like Francesca had her way with the words in a different way. But I mean, Crowley, he knows how to wiggle his way out of some stuff. However, to bat a perfect game in a campaign is hard.
Yeah.
And with the governor's race where you're always in front of the media, and it's really hard to kind of, this is, showtime. There are some local reporters that will hold his feet to the fire.
Yeah.
And, it only takes one slip up, and we'll have to see how it shakes out in November. But
the thing is about this, and I know it's not quite in the show doc, so we got to talk about this for a second if we can. The other thing I think is working against Crowley right now is I'm noticing this more, but I don't think woke one is hitting for the Democrats anymore. Like that Mueller time, Orange Man bad, ultra mega supporters, and Russia doesn't do it for the Dems anymore. And I think you saw that in the primary. So like, if that orange man bad is the drug for the Democrat Party, it's losing its effectiveness. You got to switch to something harder. And
yeah, what's a harder drug than orange man bad? That's the only problem.
I'm pretty sure it's abolish the police, abolish the prisons, and cancel Thanksgiving, because 40% of the Democrat voters in the primary thought that was a good idea.
I still think it was only 38% of the other two.
Okay, sure,
Republicans, but yeah.
But no, that I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just what I'm seeing. But like the people, I was thinking about this the other day, that like the people who made their bones on bashing Trump, like those accounts like the JoJo from Jurors or Mueller She Wrote and Adam Kinzinger and Charlie Sykes.
I mean, they're still going.
Like they are, but I don't think they're getting the attention that they were during Trump 1.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
And I think Trump doesn't seem to be taking up that much oxygen anymore. It seems to be a very different style of Trump goes out. Trump 1 was Trump goes out on the campaign trail, or even though, the rally trail, if you will, 2017, 2018. He riffs for a while. He says something that you might kind of clutch your pearls about. You might go, oh, I wish you wouldn't have said that. And then all of these pundits, these anti-Trump people, the Bulwark and the what's the other one, the Remnant, or all those, plus the libs that went so anti-Trump, they all go on those shows and they all get the retweets and that. Trump 2 is like, we're just gonna do stuff, and we're gonna do it at such a fast pace that the media can't keep up. And
we've caught up a little bit since the inauguration, but yeah,
and like we're just gonna keep doing things that we set out to do, deporting a new group of people who's had all overextended their visas or what. Like I think I saw there was like 300 Haitians in Ohio that got deported because they all had done their they had gone.
Well, also I think their temporary protection status expired. So
so they're getting rid of all those. They're going through. You see what's going on when people with Doge and people trying to expose Nick Shirley doing his thing, exposing the Minneapolis fraud, all those sort of things. Like that seems to be taking steps. And again, that Trump bashing, I don't think seems to be sticking the same way it did in Trump 1. And I think that's the same thing with like Woke 1 that you had, and that's what David Crowley's trying to run on. He's trying to be like, well, like all Tom, ultra mega Tom Tiffany, or pro Donald Trump Tom Tiffany, and all that stuff just doesn't seem like you could run on that. But I don't know, like, do you pull the moderate independent or the Bush era Republican voting women from the suburbs the way you do, the way you got them away from Trump? Like, do you pull them back with Orange Man Bad and Mueller time and the Russia investigation? Like, because that's what David Crowley's trying to do.
And of course, this is, I think, mainly just a turnout the base, because obviously Trump aggravates the Dems more than anybody, and will always do that. However, the people in the middle, I think, yes, have more or less. I want to say that they're tuned out. Like I don't think that's the case either. But yes, after 10 years of the Donald Trump being in the headlines, being the guy of for the Republican Party, at some point you just kind of accept it. It's like, I mean, this is a horrible comparison. However, it's kind of like a hoarder house. Okay, now bear with me. How does a hoarder house become a hoarder house? Okay, it doesn't happen overnight. Clearly, you don't just say like, I'm going to dump 10,000 comic books in my living room and I'm going to live like this. No, it starts with 10, and then 20, and then 30, and then you're at 100, and then you're at 1,000. Before you know it, the whole room is filled. Okay, it's like Donald Trump's been here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5, 10. It just kind of is what it is. He's going to say some stuff you might not like. He's going to say some super base stuff that you are going to like.
But he's going to say it on Truth Social, and where like 10% of the people follow it.
Yeah. So you just kind of learn to live with it. And I know there are probably some people that still don't like it, but they've kind of more or less tuned it out. And I think we've kind of returned to baseline in a way. That might be a little bit of hopium for the midterms. But my thing is, I'm trying to think of where what voter has voted for Trump, 3 times, and this is the last straw? And of course, I know that there's some controversy with the Iran war and stuff, but the governor's races are so much different. Trump isn't on the ballot. The governor's races are much more about, the local issues. We're not talking about foreign policy, and people have an ability to kind of get those crossover voters a little bit more. So, yeah, I think that the Democrats are going to say MAGA Tom Tiffany to get their base out in Dane County. And I get it.
Does that resonate with the 2018 midterm voters who maybe switched from Walker in 14 to Evers in 18 or stayed home or whatever? Like, that's 2 years into Trump, and even then Walker only lost by 30,000 votes in a tough Republican year. This one's kind of shaping out that way, but at the same time, some of the fundamentals aren't there for the Democrats the way they were.
Yeah.
Plus, we don't have a Senate race. I think that is going to be an X factor that national.
You don't have to be able to nationalize
right.
Yeah.
They can't, make it about Trump because you don't have a senator on the ballot. You have people like Bernie Sanders and AOC who blew off Wisconsin. Now it was because Francesca Hong was too insufferable and too woke. And too far left for even them. But they also said, well, we're worried about the Senate. So maybe that still holds true, and maybe David Crowley doesn't get that same level of interest, but I think that's going to be playing into it.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, this is the one cycle we're not going to have a Senate race, and then we're going to have 2 back to back.
Yeah.
So gear up, because those are going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have the presidential.
Yeah.
Ron Johnson back on a presidential ballot. 2016 called. So that'll be fun.
And you have Tammy Baldwin in what could be a tough midterm. But that's,
who knows?
We got a lot of shows between now and then. Hopefully,
that'll be. This is episode 433.
Just because I'm turning 40 soon.
Tammy Baldwin has lost her election. Oh, that'd be great.
Hopefully I don't sound like that at 40 something.
Well, if as long as the Democrats keep on having primaries like the one we just experienced,
but then we won't be we'll be mid-fashioned conservatives.
Yeah. Oh boy, the new fashion will become the old fashions, and then we'll just have to rebrand to old fashioned.
Yeah. And then we'll sound old. So one of the things we got to talk about, though, that I think plays in this as well is candidate quality. And it's not just with David Crowley, who I think is a bad candidate, who I think is going to be exposed as a bad candidate over the next couple of weeks to months, because, again, he's like Kamala Harris, has never had a true Republican opponent. But you had what should be a competitive race in the 1st district, has never really measured up to it. And we saw this when it was Paul Ryan who dominated it. We see it now with Bryan Steil, who's dominating it. But the Dems have tried to recruit candidates before. And you want to talk about woke one not hitting anymore. Just got to bring up a former candidate for that district who had dropped out, was Randy Bryce, who went from, grifting and scam packing hundreds of thousands of dollars out of Act Blue donors to getting a few $1,000s in that one. Did he hit 5 figures?
I don't know, but he didn't even turn in signatures.
That's right. So, he gave up at that. He gave up before that, but I don't think I might be wrong. We might have to fact check this. I don't think he hit 5. I think he hit $7,000 or something. I think it was so bad.
He had to have hit 5 figures. There's no way.
Okay. Maybe I'm dropping a 0 off. Just
I guess, because I do remember the report where he had under $10,000 as a former congressional candidate, which is crazy work.
Yes.
Bro had probably crazy donor networks when he ran, probably, unless he just didn't keep any of that data for himself and just outside, or, had some consultant run everything.
Maybe
their stuff.
Maybe Rebecca Cook was running that one too, and ripping off Brandy Bryce too. like she was Kirk Bangstad. But
who knows?
The actual candidate now for the Democrats is Mitchell Berman, who has had 2 back-to-back scandals drop late last week. The first one, I think it's a bit more complicated, so I'm going to start with the tougher one, then we can break into the easier one to make fun of him for. So Mitchell Berman actually triggered a Raymond School District lockdown amid threats against the board. So in 2023, I think it was shortly after the school board had been flipped, and there were more conservatives on the board. That they were starting to go look at the books that were being taught, and you could say, well, they were banning books, and I can say that, well, they were actually just curtailing the books to what was actually appropriate for those ages. So he starts to complain about this and puts an open records request into the principal there. And some morning, during the drop off, he goes at 7:15 in the morning, drops his kid off, and goes through and starts demanding his open records request. At the same time this is going on, there's these anonymous threats against school board members and the superintendent's family. So there's a lot going on. These people are getting, things dropped off in the mail, threatening them. And he goes in there, and he is so over the top. He is so disruptive that the superintendent directs Principal Jeff Peterson to escort Mitchell Berman out, and the school goes on a soft lockdown because of his behavior. And I just do the Dems not vet this guy? Like, that is how caused a school lockdown is pretty ridiculous.
Well, and obviously we weren't there, so who knows what he was actually doing. But to be I feel like there's probably got to be some kind of threshold to call it a lockdown.
Yeah.
So hey, maybe don't have an absolute spaz attack. Hey, he sounds like he wanted his open records request. Okay, sure, that's great. I'm sure that there are a lot of groups that would want their open records requests from the governor's office or the DOJ, and they wait 9 months, a year to get those sometimes. So maybe just check your, maybe don't spaz out about an open records request and just don't cause the school to go into a lockdown. And this one's kind of on him, and maybe shows his demeanor as a candidate a little bit more than just, the tchotchke ads that they probably run. I see when I see his stuff, it's all like, oh, I'm a nurse. I'm a male nurse, which there's nothing wrong with that.
A nurse.
But I don't know. He's probably the funny thing is out of the entire field, and we said this months ago, he was probably their best candidate.
Yeah. He at least lived in the district.
He lived in the district. His name was not Peter Burgellis, and not a complete buffoon. But at the very least, he seemed to be competent, and he had some money behind him, it seemed like. So, but this is not ideal, and I'm sure the Steil team, they're good. They know what they're doing, and I'm expecting an early night. For Bryan.
Again, the Senate, the first district's rated at like an R+3, but the Republican always outperforms just because of how, I don't know, bad the Democrat is, how well funded the Republican is, how well connected. And I'm not saying connected isn't like connected. I'm saying they have roots in the community. Bryan Steil has roots in that community. Paul Ryan had roots in that community. Mitchell Berman, on the other hand, is harassing administrative assistants at 7:15 in the morning. And
he did, right in the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, so he again went through the school drop-off line, decides to get out, and goes in and says, "Give me those damn records." And the funny thing is, this was September. This is like the first 2-3 weeks of school when this went on. So how bad is it that you're starting off the school year like that?
Not great,
but still not the worst thing. That I think this one is worse. So
I would agree.
Mitchell Berman, also, who's been campaigning as a nurse and a devoted husband, was still paying for Ashley Madison while engaged, probably married.
Not great. Not great at all. Not a great look. And when you look at the original story too, he paid $268.
Yes.
Okay. This wasn't like a $5 purchase or something. I whatever. But it was, and if you read the original where they go into, so there was like a $268 purchase and a $19 purchase.
Yep.
$268 was basically for a bunch of credits to talk to people.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if we explained Ashley Madison.
Yeah. So it's a site that is specific to, targeted at married people to have a discreet affair. Now, my understanding of Ashley Madison is that like it's like 20-1 dudes.
Yeah.
It's like overwhelmingly guys. And look, I would never commit to one of these websites. I would never do something like this. But you think about that ratio. How many of them are like scam artists in Bulgaria? Who
potentially.
Right.
Oh, or there's the classic Nigerian prince,
Right.
who needs some funds.
Right. This is the girl from Estonia who needs to get out of a abusive family, and please just fly me to America, and then she'll have these weird passport issues that you need to wire her more money. Like, that's what you're getting from Ashley Madison.
Yeah, well, and so this all came back, like everyone's like, well, how did Styles team get this? There was a breach, and it was like I think it was one of the worst data breaches.
Mm-hmm. Certainly one of the most embarrassing.
Well, that's putting it lightly. In like the history of the internet, there was just a massive amount of data. We're talking tens of millions of personal information was leaked, and so you can apparently search this stuff. And, well, you can find people on it and comb through it, and so that's how they find this exact like transaction data. And the $19 one was to delete the personal information. So apparently. So I think it worked where they deleted that personal information, but the transaction data was still there. So when it leaked, it's still attached to a person.
No, I remember looking through that and saw some Legis.Wisconsin and like at Wisconsin, which was like the UW system or like the bureaucracy. Gosh. I remember looking through that just briefly to be like, I wonder if anyone was stupid enough to use their work email on these things, which have these very noticeable .gov websites. But yeah, so how bad is your first Valentine's Day as a married couple that 2 weeks later you drop $268 on Ashley Madison? Like, that's not a good start, and I hope he and his wife are in a better place now.
Yeah, actually, because I hope things are better, because what's worse, losing to Bryan Steil by 10 or having your wife find out about this for the first time via an attack ad? I don't know. Pick your poison, I suppose.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
That his wife may have never known until this exact moment.
Yeah. So
because of the Washington Examiner exposing this. Now, here's the other one: is he wasn't just on Ashley Madison, he was also on Adult Friend Finder, which I think is a similar vibe. I don't know. Not familiar. I'm assuming adult friend.
Finding friends.
I'm
assuming,
right. That's like, I don't know, Bumble for people over 40 or no, I think it's just Again, another one where I'm thinking you're getting girls from Latvia and the Balkans who are just stringing you along, or probably now in these. I mean, that was 2016. Nowadays, it's like definitely some dude in his basement operating like 5 AI chatbots. Yeah. And asking for feet pics.
Gross. But needless to say, one thing I wanted to mention, because as much as it is, to mention Mitch Berman's shortcomings, Bryan Steil, regardless, Mitch Berman could be the perfect candidate in the perfect environment. And is there a chance that Bryan Steil loses? Of course. There's nothing is ever for sure. He could be in a 75 Republican.
And even in 2016, Trump had like a 15% chance of winning going on to election day.
Never discount anything, no matter who you are in what seat. Never discount the fact that you have a 99% chance, but there's still 1%. Someone else's name is on that ballot. That being said, Bryan Steil is an absolute electoral juggernaut. And we've talked about Tiffany a lot, obviously, because of the governor's race. We haven't really talked about Steil a whole lot, just because he just kind of does his thing, and he just kind of keeps on chugging. He's looking in Act Blue. He's rising
doing
up
some
in
great work
the
there.
House leadership ranks. He's doing a lot of good stuff, and I have to say, I don't know if it's mainly because my algorithm or I just happen to see everything at the perfect timing. But Bryan Steil is everywhere in his district all the time. He's everywhere. He works his district so hard. And, kudos to those people. There are a lot of probably Washington politicians that go to Washington and that's it. And they go back
100%.
and they're maybe not seen as much. And obviously some of these districts are 750,000 people. So some of them are pretty spread out. And the first district is not like geographically the biggest, but it's certainly not the smallest.
No,
either.
it's a kind of inconvenient one.
Yeah,
I mean,
you got to drive a little bit to get across the district, but you see it. He's everywhere. He's at all the state fairs. He's all these local events and such. And so I just wanted to give him a shout for doing great constituent work, doing great retail politics, being a great fundraiser, and would be a great candidate for.
Oh, you're gonna go there?
Some higher office.
Okay.
I don't know what. I'm just saying. I think he's a great candidate, and I don't know. He's got a good future. He's got a great future, I think, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Well, someone whose future has got to be winding down politically, if you will. We haven't talked about her that much on the show, but I know it's a huge race. Rebecca Cook facing off against Derek Van Orden again. So she had to ask for extensions pretty regularly on her finance reports.
All the time.
Yeah.
She gets these all the time.
So she had a financial disclosure that came out that, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong here, but she showed that she's earned like $90,000 past like calendar year or whatever it was. Like she's trying to be this, like, I'm just a scrappy waitress from, the district, and I'm just going to go to
Do you know any
waitresses
that make $90K?
Not in rural Western Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So here's the thing, though. She didn't make that much money from waitressing. She made it from waiting tables, but rental and property income, political fellowships, and consulting. That was most of it right there, is the rental property income, political fellowships, consulting. So one of the things, she was a fellowship, so for the Washington, D.C. based Third Way, Madison based Pipeline Fund. So she only has to check a box that says that she was paid more than a certain amount. But
we don't know the full amount.
Right. But
okay.
According to some previous documents, that Washington, D.C. based Third Way paid her over $30,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice little subsidy.
She gets that. She owns some rental property.
How did she buy rental property?
Yeah, I don't
know. Do you know any waitresses that are slumlords?
No, but maybe now we do.
Yeah. I am not an opponent of having rental property. In fact, I am a proponent and would love some rental property.
Yeah, right. I'd love some passive income.
Yes, I would love that
I don't
myself.
have any passive income, but I'd love some.
Yes, I would love some. And so, yeah, but this does kind of point through the cracks. And I'm not an expert on why Rebecca Cook gets these extensions where she gets to disclose her finances super late. I mean, obviously, it's still August, and so the DVO team will still be able to see it and make something into it and maybe turn it into some kind of, phony working class, bit. And they probably have, because they have hit her on that. This is, I think it is the most potent hit on her, is that, she's been a long time Democrat consultant. She's done she's multiple groups. She's been she's still on the take with others.
And she's been stealing clients from Kurt Bangstad.
Oh, yes. If he stabbed her in the back and, he already called her out once. I mean, what's saying he won't call her out again? But it is a very potent attack for Western Wisconsin, it's a different rural than up north. Of course, it's more the rural agriculture. The most cows per capita, part of the state, and to have a Democrat consultant, kind of it's an icky word, and if this works, I would love to see. I know I'm pivoting very hard, but I would love to see what Ben Wickler does, with that same message, when he inevitably runs for something, because no one does a book tour in an election year to just for kicks and giggles or whatever. But yeah, the whole Democrat consultant, kind of the insider politics thing, is not a super great message,
right,
when you're trying to be that, the champion of the working class.
It's one of those things that it shows that, like, again, that it's evaporating, that idea that she's just a plucky little waitress trying to take on the big, Republican congressional machine. Now she's a deep Madison and Washington, D.C. consultant insider that is cosplaying as a waitress.
Amen.
So I want to talk about someone who we may have talked about once or twice on this pod before. but
Only
it
once or twice?
might be the last chance we have to talk about her.
Okay.
That's Francesca Hong.
Yeah,
And
we'll never talk about her.
We got to. This is a little bit of
Again.
catch up. I don't know if people saw this one. They probably saw the headline. Maybe didn't realize how far this went. So there was a little known polling firm that was calling itself Median Strategies. So this was exposed by, I think, the California Post last week that showed that they had fabricated a poll showing Karen Bass in the lead for the Los Angeles Times did this, that showed her with a 12-point lead over her opponent, and it was kind of highlighting the fact that they were saying that Spencer Pratt voters were going to Karen Bass, and she started promoting this one. Los Angeles Times makes a couple of phone calls, finds out that in Median Strategies billing itself as this nonpartisan, independent polling thing. But turns out they fabricated that poll entirely.
Yeah.
They made the entire thing up. Now, why are we talking about Karen Bass?
Sources, I made it up.
Yeah, because in early August, Median Strategies posted results claiming Francesca Hong led the Wisconsin Democrat primary with 46.3%, followed by David Crowley at 22.6%, with a sample of 982 likely voters and a margin of error of 3.8%. So they made up a poll showing Francesca Hong in the lead.
Incredible.
And you know what's crazy? But like this was only figured out because someone called Median Strategies. They no vetting by the journos. No one said, "Oh, I wonder who this Median Strategy group is." They just started posting it. No one asked any questions until someone said, "I don't know if Karen Bass or Spencer Pratt supporters are going for Karen Bass." So Los Angeles Times calls them up, and it turns out they have to walk back everything. And then they say that, it was just a social experiment to post these to see if anyone would figure out if we were full of crap. So how many polls? Again, Francesca Hong sees one that she's in the lead, promotes it.
As anyone does.
And it's a complete fabrication, and no one figured this out. But here's the interesting thing is I looked this up. There's no law that says you can't do that.
Yeah, disinformation is not illegal.
Right. It is.
It's still,
right.
No one says you have to cite your sources, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which, honestly, this does a huge disservice to like actual people that want to do legitimate polling or probably like startups or something, because they're just going to say, "Oh, it's a fake poll." And because even in that primary, we also saw, I mean, it was Wedgwood Politics, and I don't know how close they ended up being, but that was a brand new kind of sketchy. They were all like Hong supporters too, so like it was kind of sketchy, but it just shows how much people can be manipulated by basically just fake stuff that just got made up, thrown on the internet, and the campaigns glom onto it and then use it as a talking point.
So back in the day, there used to be St. Norbert's College ran a poll, and it always had some kind of squishy results and some questionable stuff. Now, reality is, I think that was just like someone, a college professor teaching a class on polling or some, math or poli-sci, but then they would have the students call 500 people, or the first 500 people to get to answers, 350 to get answers, and then post them. And everyone was like, nah, that's not quite right. It was always skewed. There was always something a little odd with it, always a high, percentage of error. But at least there was some methodology to it. Median Strategies, again, just posted random numbers, put one candidate in the lead, one candidate in second place. And again, it speaks to how lazy I think journos are, that they didn't think of this sooner, that at no point did they question these polls, because
I mean, if it looks official, I guess it is official, But and the thing about the Medium, and I don't know anything about the Karen Bass and the LA mayor's race, but like, I think what triggered it is because they claimed that it said Spencer Pratt voters were going to Karen Bass, where it's like the one with Francesca Hong, I don't know if it said anything novel other than like it just had Fran up and David Crowley in the low 20s, which like basically all the other polls are showing that too. So it was probably lesser of an impact, but still kind of scary that someone can just make up something and get thrown into the aggregate. So
yeah, but here's the thing, like, not illegal. Could totally do it. First Amendment rights says you can post anything. It's probably, if they want to charge them with something, there's no like election nearing or posting false stuff about elections. Not there's no law against that. They could maybe get hit with commodities fraud or wire fraud for manipulating the Kalshi markets with the data. That's the closest. That's the most illegal thing of this is they manipulated the
to then cash out
to the those. But no, again, they would have had to have done something with that. There would have to be I don't know if there'd have to be like a 1-to-1 of like Median Strategies was set up for the sole purpose of driving numbers up on predictions that we could sell later for more money. I don't think it was that.
Yeah.
But I think if there's people who lost money because of this, and it's tough to prove.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing you could get them for legally. It's pretty wild that, if you and I wanted to come out and say that we surveyed 475 people that said that, Tom Tiffany is leading 51-46.
Well,
we could do it.
We did. Well, we did actually do a polling firm.
Mm-hmm.
We did poll people, and they said that the New Fashion Conservative Podcast was the number
99
podcast in the state of Wisconsin. Mark Belling was first.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We are above Mark Belling in the top 100 conservative podcasts in America right now. Just saying that.
I am not. That is not. I am not taking that to the bank. That is not a statement of fact. That is just what someone else is saying.
Right.
That is not what I'm saying.
Was that FeedSpot?
FeedSpot.
Sure.
FeedSpot said it, so I guess it's true.
All right, so we got to go to some candy. I don't know if you saw this one.
No, I did. Yes,
this had to be the dumbest take I have seen. The dumbest attack that someone has claimed about a Republican candidate. So Michael Alfonso, apparently, when he was roughly 18 or 19 years old, was paying his friends, reimbursing them from something for Venmo. Apparently, he put in some jokes in the Venmo line that was strippers and quote-unquote high supplies for $5. And someone tried to spin this as he was actually caught making these Venmo payments for strippers and drugs.
Incredible work. First of all, when I saw this, I thought it came from a satire account. And I was like, this is not a legitimate attack. And then I kept on saying, like, wait, someone's actually running this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could have blurred out how much money it was, because then it would have been at least a little bit more.
There'd be more intriguing.
There would be more intriguing. Like, oh, was it $100? Was it $200? Was it $1,000? No, $5. Well, I guess, guys, pack it up.
Yeah.
I guess we should just honestly end the U.S. government as it is, because everybody under the age of 40 has probably written something inappropriate in the Venmo line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
so I guess
100%.
Millennials, Gen Z, Gen L, you guys are all screwed.
Mm-hmm.
No one can run for office because
of your Venmo payments.
Yeah, because guess what? There's an eggplant probably in everybody's profile.
Right.
You guys bought pizza? Well, thanks for the pizza. Here's the eggplant.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And then the 3-drop water one.
Yeah.
I
So
get it.
It's gonna happen. Like, I just think it's more funny that I saw this so many times. I'm like, I laughed at it. I thought it was satire.
Right.
But no, I don't know who's pushing this. Like, I don't know whose idea this is.
I saw someone pick this up with the stupidest take. His name's Christopher Hale, who claims to be Catholic, but is also a Obama, Biden, White House, and campaign alum. Said, here's again.
He dropped it?
Mega says Joe Biden is a fake Catholic, and Michael Alfonso, a married man who hires strippers and drugs on Venmo, is a devout Catholic. Quote tweeting this thing.
He's the one that dropped this?
He might have, but I mean, you want to tell someone, you want to tell the world that you don't have any friends? Complain about what people put in their Venmo memo lines.
So, this is interesting. I have a theory, and I have no proof of it whatsoever. So bear with me.
Okay.
I'm not disparaging anyone. I'm just making an assumption. Why does this come out? He's going to win the general. Like,
right. Are they trying to embarrass him? But shouldn't be, because he owned it immediately.
Well, no, they're not trying to embarrass him. Maybe. But there's a couple things. Christian Hale is like, I'm pretty sure he was he's a Catholic, but he's big Democrat.
Which is does not equal.
I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of Democrats that are Catholics. It just is what it is.
You can't be, but go on.
I know, but it's when you go to the whoever wins the Catholic vote type of thing. There's plenty of Catholics that vote Democrat. But he sowed a lot of division within like the Catholic political discourse. So I think that's kind of interesting. And I'm not looking at it right now, so I don't know if he found it first or he's just commenting on it. However, I could see a scenario maybe, and regardless of your thoughts on Michael Alfonso, he's our candidate now. And I think we should, support him and hopefully and wish him the best. But I could see someone got an Oppo file probably for the primary, and this was potentially in it. And like, oh, strippers, that's clearly, scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
Yeah.
Okay. And
he posted one of these in 2018. Let's just get there. Another one was in 2020.
Exactly.
6 to 8 years ago.
Yeah. Someone went through this and found that and maybe saved this and was like, well, the primary's over. Someone else can have fun with it. Type of thing. Just because I just don't know why else this would come out.
So you think they're just dropping Oppo just as like a twisting the nut,
kind of a screw you type of thing, even though like basically just give you a headache for one day. And I have no proof of this whatsoever. I have not disparaging anybody. Got to put that disclaimer on.
Yeah.
I just think it's a little interesting
so
that this makes its way into the ether from 7 years ago.
Right.
And that just looks like something that was maybe scraped by someone that wasn't just on Twitter.
My bigger question in all of this is, why does Venmo have a way to follow all of your friends' transactions or people you were friends with when you synced your Facebook account and your Venmo account, or uploaded and imported your friends and contacts? Because I could go through this thing. I'm looking at my Venmo one right now. And now, again, it's mostly like people who were paying for babysitters, which congratulations, Zach, for, having a night out. But I saw one in here that was like, sorry, you're autistic and gay. And I don't know, maybe they are autistic and gay and they feel bad about it. Or maybe, again, that's a joke. But the stuff you add to these lines, I did it. Like, especially if I didn't, like, it was a fantasy football thing and I didn't want to pay my friend. Yeah, it was definitely like, Taliban training videos or, like I could, now, of course, I lock mine.
I also lock mine because
I don't need to know that Nathan paid Michelle for coffee or that Steve paid Tom for going to the Del Bar. Like, why is this? I can add a comment, an emoji, or heart these things.
Yeah,
I should just start hearting every one of these.
This is not a social media
platform. Right.
Gosh.
Yeah, I can't believe
what a horrible attack.
Yeah.
It really, that really, that really cuts the cake there.
Yep. I see Jennifer and Jeremy Venmoing Shannon for Powerball entries.
Ooh, yeah. I'll try to get that was over $1 billion,
Is that what it got up to? Is it still
I wasn't paying attention because I wasn't buying them. And I wasn't certainly paying them back via Venmo.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what I should put on my Venmo or charge people for?
Because the lottery is gay.
Well, except one type of lottery. That is fantastic and awesome. And I don't know if you saw this. I love a minor league team alternate identity. I don't know if you saw this one. But the Fond du Lac Dock Spiders, for one weekend in 2027, they've already announced it, are going to become the Wisconsin Pulltabs.
What a transition.
Yeah, that's a chef's kiss.
Landed the plane there. It was perfect. Didn't know where you're going with that one. Cardboard Crack. I would have preferred that name.
Yeah.
Cardboard Crack would have been a little bit better. But gotta love the name change. The Wisconsin dive bars, the Pulltabs. I love the Tchotchke just leaning into the Wisconsin pride, Wisconsin culture as much as possible. So good on them for and the logo looks pretty sick.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to get some gear. I'm gonna get the hat, no doubt. But it's certainly better than I saw this when the Toronto WNBA team introduced a mascot that has she/they pronouns.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, would you expect this from the Canadian?
No, I expect
WNBA team.
The WNBA, yes, but the WNBA Toronto team, this does track. I'm not surprised at all now.
But you know who's not going to be good at opening pull tabs at the Dock Spiders games? You saw that you were the one who shared this video. I'm going to let you take it from here.
Well, we don't have video, so unfortunately, I need you all to follow me on X, the Everything app, at Robin_boss_Stan, and then go back to like a couple days ago now. It was a video, and the Democrats are all high on their own supply, doing their little unity tour, and they went to a bar, I think up north. I can't remember where. One of the probably 3 Democrat counties that are, past Wausau, basically.
So they're up in like Superior, Ashland.
Yeah, something like that. And they were like, oh, we got to do some pull tabs. And they, of course, they do this whole video. And no one has ever said that. Okay. No one has ever said that. Okay. No one's, oh, let's do pull tabs.
Yeah.
Okay. Usually it's drunkenly and they're like, oh, let's do pull tabs.
Yeah. And sometimes they just show up in front of me. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah. It's like, oh, here's 5. These are yours.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will try to explain the video as best I possibly can. But this is just kind of like, it's so insincere. And I know I'm being a little annoying about a video of people doing pull tabs. But so Devin Remaker and Sarah Godlewski, the
screechy gal,
screechy hail, Republicans bad. They do this video about pull tabs. They both have one pull tab. One. Okay. First of all, who buys one? Okay. Usually it's 5 or 20. Okay. And they have a video and they're pulling the pull tabs as one does. However, for those connoisseurs,
it's this dainty little pinch.
Yes, let me pinch one
off
at a time. Okay.
One at a time.
And Devin did it as well. Maybe not as daintily. However,
it's pretty dainty.
However, he did do one. And what are the odds that she wins for the first time? I mean, it's pretty decent odds, maybe, but it's a non-zero chance.
Yeah.
But it was very like, oh, we do pull tabs. Yeah, I'm a hi fellow kids.
Exactly.
I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, but they just happen to film the win. Just happens to be there.
Yeah, it was a bit tchotchke.
She's doing this dainty little pull, which shows that she's never cracked a pull tab before.
Never.
You know who opens pull tabs like that? My daughters, because I took them to State Fair. Now they also.
You're saying that your daughters were gambling.
I say I gave them $3. I paid for them.
He's admitting it.
Come on, everyone's let their kids crack a pull tab.
I know.
I paid for them. I put the thing in. Great little company was at State Fair selling these pull tabs. They pull it out. They see their win. They go up and they're so proud. And I don't think they actually won because they were giving away these like squishy like cheese and cows with their branded stuff on. I think they got that instead of the actual dollar. But yeah, you don't just, you got to, and boom.
Well, yeah. So there's a couple different ways to do it. However, my main approach is to do the 2 cracks. You do 1, boom, boom, where you crack the 3 and then the 2, where you do the 2 and then the 3. I think it's really the 3 and the 2. Not this one doing it.
Yeah.
Then, of course, it's not a true Wisconsin bar experience if you don't have your 2 winners, which you pulled the actual pull tabs off. You pulled them off completely.
Oh yeah.
In the stack of 20 that's on the bar,
right?
And of course, they're all unfurled. They're all in a giant pile. The
pitching
bartender
them around.
comes over with the trash can and shovels them in.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, this is
cultural appropriation.
This is just a coincidental win. Oh, I won on my first time. Come on, no one believes that.
This kind of actually pissed me off a little bit. I was just like, this is still so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks so bad. They're like trying to convince you that, oh no, we really actually did win. That
we
first
are
time.
Relatable too.
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
Like, this is like if Dane County voters, aka Sarah Godlewski and Devin Remaker, went up north as a fun tourist experience. Oh, let's do the pull tab.
I think this is the first time Devin's actually been up to Superior, Ashland, or whatever. Like, that Sarah probably just tries to avoid it as much as possible.
Well, and I have to give a shout out to the Team Tiffany, because they did quote tweet the post and said, this is how you can find who the tourists are.
Yeah, that was a full-on tourist. Now, let me ask you something, though, pull tabs.
Okay.
Let's say you hit $1, you hit a $2 pull tab sitting at the bar.
Do you reinvest?
Well, no.
Okay,
of course, yes.
Okay.
But say it's the end of the night. Is it appropriate to leave that as a tip? You leave the $1, you get your beer, you leave the $1 pull tab. That's it. Can you do that?
I don't know if I've ever done that before. I would just take the money and then give. That's the tip. Not obviously. if you have more, you're not going to just give $1. You know, maybe,
well, it's my understanding.
It will contribute to the overall tip.
It's $1 a drink, I think, unless it's something complicated. But I know that most bars, like the bartenders, say $1 a drink is an okay tip. That's fine. That's
you have
acceptable.
3 beers,
$3, unless it's.
Although, but of course, if you got a good relationship with the bartender,
yeah, of course, there's all these other things that go into it.
And we don't have to explain bar culture to Wisconsinites.
We're an hour and 10 in already. I don't think people really want to know my thoughts about going to the Pfizer Forum, having some guy crack a $12 beer, and then just answer these questions that include 25, 30, and 35% tips, because that will set me off. But $1, good for a beer. You just give them the pull tab. Save them the step of pulling the $1 out. Just give them the pull tab as a tip.
Yeah. I'd get the $1 and just, I think I wouldn't do that personally.
With that, thank you again for tuning in. Hopefully our technology issues are behind us and we can get back to doing multiple episodes. We're going to trust that the Shadow Gov's tech is fully operational.
I've been working on it. Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize to everybody.
Again, you should see what he does to make me sound this good. He does all of the back end stuff. Phrasing.
Very bad timing. Very bad timing.
But I mean, he does all of the production stuff and he does a very good job at it. And, we're going to get it back to where we want to be. So with that, please continue to like and share, especially on Apple and Spotify, where you can also give us those 5-star reviews and leave a review so we can read something on air. Our YouTube episodes and Rumble. Actually, I don't mention Rumble enough. We've all seen some really solid upticks there. So it's great, great stuff to look at. We love you liking and subscribing. So please do that. If you want more content, check out what we're writing at the Heartland Post. I wrote this week about David Crowley's data center hypocrisy, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it tonight. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. But I think what was a really great piece, and it's not just because I wrote it, but it seems really hypocritical that David Crowley would kick the data center issue to red counties, to Republican areas, and say, oh, let's just plow under farmland and make these giant solar farms, when you have places like Northridge and Master Lock that sit empty and they're 20 to 50 acres worth of space that should have one. So we'll talk about that in the near future. Shadow Gov wrote this great piece about the UW acceptance rate for Wisconsin students and how, the UW system is actually letting those students down. Of course, if you want to learn more about us or have any questions or even business inquiries, hit us up at email at newfashionpod@gmail.com. Of course, find us on Rumble, YouTube, and Substack at New Fashion Conservatives. We're on X at New Fashion Pod. I'm at Justin E. Phillips. He's
Robin _Voss _Stan.
Have a great Monday.